What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. NFL Week 2 player projections is here. I'm joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Koerner. Sean, we are going to give out our inaugural, or I shouldn't say inaugural, but our first ever Cardio King awards in a moment to the guys who ran the most routes with no targets in week 1. Are you excited?
Absolutely. First off, week 1 always feels like Christmas morning because football's back. But it's always an absolute nightmare to project because what are we going off of? Like beat reports, speculation, limited preseason usage. I hate it in that regard. I got my ass kicked on props. I kept stepping on every week 1 rake. But week 2, that's Christmas morning for me because we actually have our first batch of real data and usage to go off of. So love it. And I was noticing some of these guys, where the hell is Torrey Horton? He ran 17 routes, didn't see a target, but I'm very excited that we're going to formalize this award with the Cardio King Award.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a second. Then we'll get into our top 5 at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, as well as guys we are high and low on, and throw out some props for each position. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content is available right now over on fantasylabs.com. You can find all of our rankings, projections, and more at fantasylabs.com. So be sure to check it out, or you can use the Fantasy Labs app, and promo code FLEX20 gets you $20 off an annual sub. That's FLEX20. Also, Action Network is relaunching the Favorites podcast with Stuckey, who you already know if you've been listening to me over on the Action Network pod or watching our Big Bets on Campus pods. But Brandon Kravitz joins Stuckey, as well as newcomer Kendra Middleton. And those trio of hosts will be dropping Favorites episodes Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So go check it out. The first episode is live now. All right. Today's episode, we'll get into quarterback in a second, but Cardio King, we'll do one for tight end and one for wide receiver. And whoever is the one with the most routes gets the overall Cardio King for week 1. So Sean, week 1, Cardio King, take it away.
Yeah, so first off, the Cardio King, but specifically for tight end, was Tyler Higbee, 21 routes, 0 targets. And wide receiver, it was Andre Yosevach, 20 routes, 0 targets. 2 guys that probably would have been, slightly favored in this market, but this would absolutely be something fun to bet on. But was there anybody, did they surprise you at all, or was there anybody else that surprised you?
Higbee surprised me a little bit just because he was such a target monster the last time we saw him on the field. Yeah. So that was a little bit surprising. I think the least surprising was Russell Gage had, 18 or 19 rounds with no target.
Yeah.
That's not surprising at all. Julian Hill, my guy Julian Hill, gave him out on the Sunday morning show. 18 rounds, no targets. I had him under
so close.
17 and a half. That was such a ridiculous.
He would have been the favorite. He would have been the market favorite to take this down. Higbee, not so much, especially considering Terrence Ferguson didn't even play, right?
Yeah, what the hell was that about? What was that tight end rotation?
I don't know.
God damn it.
But it's almost impossible for Higbee to command a target with Puka Nacua there. I mean, he had a moment there where Puka was on the sideline, blood coming out of his eyeball. That was his chance to get a target, and he still couldn't do it. But yeah, I guess this is just Puka's world, and Higbee's just living in it.
Yeah, I noticed that most of the teams that had him had 2 guys, like Yosevach at 20, and then Drew Sample at looks like 12 for the Bengals, Gage and MVS at 19 and 15 respectively for the Niners, and Torrey Horton and Zach Charbonnet 17 and 11 for the Seahawks. So those are some other guys. No targets. Our guy Torrey Horton, that's not going to continue. He's got to get some targets going here. But let's get into quarterback top 5. Week 2, Sean Koerner, who you got?
I got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow.
I got Jackson, Allen, Hurts, Daniels, and Justin Herbert making entrance into
Nice.
the top 5. I liked what I saw from Greg Roman in week 1. Haven't said that too much, but I like the increased aggressiveness. And I saw a graphic where if you about mid-season last year, the Chargers started getting a lot more aggressive throwing the ball in early downs, and that carried over into week 1. And now you're playing a very exploitable Raider defense in week number 2. So just given that, that's what they were doing there. And Burrow, I mean, I like the matchup, but the Jaguars D was a lot better. And I don't know what that was out of Burrow. It just sack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I at this point, for now at least, I have Herbert just bumped a little bit above him. But I know you are high on Herbert as well.
Yeah, well, I thought I was high on Herbert, but he just missed my top 5. He's my QB6 this week. And, I actually mentioned him late in the offseason in our Sleepers pod, just due to the fact that the Chargers could be more pass heavy than we thought in this season. Because if you look at, the first 5 or 6 game last year, they were the second most run heavy team. And then after that, they were top 5 in pass rate, which makes sense because they have Justin Herbert. And that was the case in week 1. They had the second highest pass rate over expected. And it makes sense just with this wide receiver room. They have Lad McConkey. They brought back Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnston, when he wants to, can be excellent. And they added 2 rookie wide receivers in the draft. So, he's always had this upside, and he has rushing upside when healthy. We saw that. He had 7 carries for 32 yards. So yeah, he has top 5 upside when things are clicking. And, Rashawn Slater being out for the season means this run game could struggle all season. And it's not going to impact Herbert that much because they were able to move Joe Alt to left tackle, and he's already one of the best left tackles in the league. So just even more reason to keep throwing it. Hampton struggle with efficiency. Najee will probably struggle with efficiency. So I could just see them being a very pass-heavy team going forward. And why not? They have Justin Herbert. So yeah, he's definitely in that mid-range QB1 mix right now. And decent matchup this week at Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's got a whole stable of rookie pass catchers that they haven't really even used yet, in case any of these veterans struggle. So yeah, setting it well for Herbert because I think that was the biggest worry was the protection but he's running more too. So yeah, I've always thought he's him and Burrow always kind of in a similar category. And then Burrow just kind of went way ahead last year, just kind of left Herbert in the dust. But Herbert is kind of capable, has similar, I would say just a tick. I would put him a tick under Burrow in terms of raw talent. But if they're going to call passes like this, yeah, I think it's going to be a good season for him. I'm high on Caleb Williams, which I was a little surprised about, but he's cracked my top 10 in quarterbacks at the Lions here, and is an indoor game, so that's good. He played outdoors in at home in week 1, but you saw him start the game really hot. I think it was 9 or 10 straight completions to start it off. I think they're just scratching the surface with Burden and Adunze looks like he's improved. Loveland hasn't even become a full-time player yet. And the running game, that probably is going to struggle a little bit more with Swift and Monogany, and maybe they'll get Roschon Johnson back. But overall, I think the Lions, they got to get right on offense after that embarrassing showing in week 1 on the road. So I think they'll put up points and kind of force Caleb to put up points. And I do think Ben Johnson will throw the football here. So Caleb Williams, my QB10, he's QB17 in ECR. And I think what's really helping Caleb is he's starting to kind of push into that, scrambling quarterback range with his rushing. I think it was 6 scrambles in week 1 for 57 yards and a touchdown. If he can just kind of get, to the high 20s on a consistent basis or low 30s, I mean, he's essentially going to be in that, Kyler Murray type of range, and probably he's going to have more volume and better passing numbers as well. So Caleb Williams, don't look now, but he might, that rushing might be putting him over the edge.
Yep. Yeah. Like I that was great for my best ball shares, but like I said, it's never going to be pretty with him. And you kind of figured it would be kind of messy to start the season. This is a new scheme. Ben Johnson's very particular. But yeah, that rushing upside's real. And he hit over 20 miles per hour on 2 of his runs. The only quarterback this week to hit over 20 miles per hour. He just looks really good as a runner. And he's trying to imitate Josh Allen. There's some times he escaped, a sack. He was trying to buy time and then tried to find somebody right before, stepping out of bounds and, didn't.
I saw that. He just stepped out of bounds.
But just watching Josh Allen the night before and then Caleb, he's so close to getting there. He's not quite there yet. But Josh Allen was the same way. Once it clicked, it really clicked. And Caleb Williams has that kind of rushing upside, especially, in the red zone. I know Nick Giffen was on his second half touchdown. He scored it in the first half. Almost scored another rushing touchdown in the second half. But he actually led this, the 2024 class in, rushing scores inside the 5-yard line in his final season at college. And this is a class with, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May. So I think he's going to use his legs a lot more, around the goal line, which is massive for his value as well. So, yeah, it didn't look pretty, but at the end of the day, what did he turn out to be? Like the QB8 or something like that in fantasy? So just those rushing stats are super valuable.
Yeah, let's see. He finished as the QB9, a couple of ticks ahead of Michael Penix Jr., a couple ticks behind Jalen Hurts. Not bad for Caleb in week 1. Who are you low on in week 1, Sean Koerner at quarterback? I mean, excuse
week
me.
Week 2.
Yeah. Let's get out of week 1.
Well, you were low on this guy in week 1. I believe. Yeah. I am low on him week 2. It's Baker Mayfield, QB 20 to open the week for me against the Texans. He was definitely a mixed bag in week 1. He he threw for 3 touchdowns, also chipped in 39 rushing yards, so still had a solid day overall. But he just looked rough at times throwing. Only threw for just 167 yards. Tied for the league lead with 4 turnover-worthy plays. Some of his passes were so bad, I felt like there must be something wrong with his shoulder or something. Like he sailed, I think his back-to-back passes just sailed at 10 feet over the guy's head. I wasn't sure what was going on. They were playing indoors, so it certainly wasn't weather-related. But maybe it's just going to take him some time to adjust, post Liam Cohen. But Emeka Buka was so good that it bailed him out a bit.
Yep.
But that was against the Falcons. So this week he faces the Texans, who should still have, one of the best secondaries in the league. So I just think this is a tougher matchup. And if he keeps playing like the way I saw last week, he could really struggle. So he's a guy that, I'd be careful with, especially this week. But I think eventually, he'll get back into it. And, Chris Godwin back will be huge. Maybe at some point in the season. But for this week, he's definitely off my radar, all the way down QB 20 for me.
Yeah, I kind of talked about guys who I really didn't want to draft in season 1, wrote a piece up, and he was one of them because I said, hey, after week 1, if he doesn't put up a big number, he finished QB 11, so not terrible, but still below where you drafted him. You didn't need to draft him to go QB 11 in week 1, but then he becomes waiver wire fodder because you don't want to play him against the Houston Texans defense. That's an excellent defense. And next week he's up against, who is it? He has another tough matchup. Let's see. Yeah, next week against the Jets, which is not. I mean, they didn't look great against Pittsburgh, so maybe that's not a tough matchup after all. But still not ideal. Starting the season here for Mayfield, especially with the.
And then he has Eagles. Then he has Eagles. And Seahawks.
Yep,
and then Seahawks just.
Not ideal.
Murderer's row there.
Yeah, and Godwin's expected back around week 5, so you got to figure it probably takes at least a week or 2 to ease in. So yeah, Mayfield's a guy you kind of want to either trade for or just pick up when somebody drops him, or around week 6-ish, 6 or 7. I am low on Dak Prescott again. I was really low on him last week. I think I was like QB 27, and he didn't look too bad, but. It was funny how the announcers just kept like, oh, yeah, Dak Prescott's playing great. But yet he had no numbers to show for it. And I think that could kind of be a theme this year with him because he's still not running as much as he did it at his peak, and that just really hurts a guy who, ECR, he's QB12. You have to really have a great matchup to be a pocket passer, giving us almost no rushing yardage to crack the top 12. And I just don't see it with Prescott, who ran one time for 3 yards. So you were on his under, what was it, 7.5? Yeah, so that
way too cashed.
High. I think he might have had one overturned or something like a scramble, but overturned. But yeah, he's not running. He said I heard on the telecast him say he's like back to feeling good as a runner, but the fact that we didn't see it in week 1, kind of, I don't know about that. I'm kind of skeptical. So this is a matchup against the Giants, who I think are a little bit underrated as a defense. Jaden Daniels obviously can move around and work his magic. So he had a pretty decent game against them, but this is a very talented defensive front, linebacker, every level, really. They have a lot of talent. Holland in the secondary, Paulson Adebo, so this is not going to be easy for Dak here, and it's really going to come down to that pass rush touchdown split. And we saw them kind of committed to giving Javonte Williams the ball in close in week 1, so we got to kind of see more how this is going to go, because remember, this is a new coach and Schottenheimer, new philosophy potentially. So I'm just kind of hands off with Prescott. He's my QB 17, 5 spots lower than ECR.
Did you see the conspiracy theory out there that CeeDee Lamb and Quentin Johnson switched bodies?
Man, I mean, it was quite a few drops, but yeah.
Like that. That's not going to be sustainable. I mean, that was bad.
What, a cowboy making mistakes? Yes, it is.
Well, CeeDee Lamb, though,
30 years and counting. No, more than that. What? Yeah, not about 30. Yeah, 30.
Yeah, about 30 years.
About 30. Yeah. All right. Quarterback prop. We each went 500. I gave you like 4 props because it was like 3 for running back last week. You went 1 and 2 on that, but then you got the other one, and then that 82.5 Travis Hunter. He finished 81.8%. So I lost that one.
I was going to set at 81.5. And then I did like the math on like the potential dropbacks for Lawrence, and I knew that like 81 and 83 were like, it was like a gap, like key numbers, and I knew you wanted the over, so like I moved it up to 82.5. Thank God. But yeah, like we've been saying,
you're probably one of like one people on the planet that actually understands, like that actually could do that. And I do my routes in 2.5% intervals too. So that that might have been your sharpest ever line. Honestly, that's just ridiculous.
That was fun, and that also like we were right about him. Everybody was shocked that he was going to be a full-time receiver. Like it was crazy to see people just like realize, oh shit, he's going to be a wide receiver. Like, why the hell did you think they drafted him second overall? Yeah,
you think Liam Cohen cares about defense? He joined the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right. Quarterback prop. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with Baker. Passing yards against the Houston Texans. I'm going to set the over under at 229.5.
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, I'm slightly over that. Man, that's a good line. I'm gonna still take the under. Hate to do it, but I think that I want to be on the under there. I know. So where do you have him ranked, by the way?
I have him QB 15, so I have him kind of getting some like empty yardage, which is why he's a little more bumped up. Because going against Houston on the road, but I might lower him. Like I actually have his passing yardage closer to 235, so I did lower it a little bit because I know you're lowering him. But yeah, I might actually lower it to that exact point though, or even lower.
Yeah, I think that's.
I just got to go back and look at some tape and some numbers and see what's going on, because Stingley came back in the game for Houston, right?
Oh,
I saw him. I saw him like writhing in pain.
Oh, I don't think he's on the injury report or anything. So yeah, he must.
Yeah. So he came back in. Okay, just making sure.
Had a brief exit, but yeah, like Baker. wait till you watch the tape. You'll see some of the throws I'm talking about. It was just god awful. Now I'm going to have, who knows if I'll be QB20 at the end of the week, but his ECR will be QB10 because everyone's going to still treat him like a top 10 quarterback. I'll be like minus 10 ECR, and he'll still have a top 10 week. He'll throw for like 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and run one in. Because he still has Mike Evans and Emeka Ibuka, so he'll still be fine. But I still want the under on his passing yards. I think that's kind of where he might struggle this week. But again, wouldn't be shocked if he still gets a couple scores and still puts up a solid week. But he's not the guy that should have been drafted QB7, and that's where his ADP was, right? Like QB7.
Yeah. He's already -4 on that after a week. So, and trending down, given the matchups. But Kamari Lassiter, Stingley, some tough, some tough corners to go against. Just as tough
Gardner
as those,
Johnson.
just as talented as those receivers in Tampa. So it could go either way. All right, running back top 5, Sean Koerner, week 2. We got.
I got Christian McCaffrey, number 1. Then Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to week 1. Pop up on the injury report. We don't even know if he's going to play or not. He looked good, though. And, with Kittle gone, I think he's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. So he's my number 1 to open the week at least. Then I got Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley is my RB5.
I got McCaffrey, Henry, Barkley, Bijan, and Chase Brown. Can't quit some Chase Brown. Still getting
who did you?
Pretty much every backfield carry.
Yeah. Yep.
Gibbs is out again.
Average 2 yards a carry though. That was my one.
I know he started off the game so well too, but he looked good. He passed the eye test, so it's like I can't really knock him. That Bengals, same thing as last year. Like that Bengals line is rough. I mean, Joe Burrow might have had his worst game in 2 years, statistically, right? I mean, it is week 1, so I guess that's just week 1 Burrow. But Chase Brown definitely passed the eye test for me. So he's in there. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. Like, what do you have for that Gibbs and Monty split? Because it was all over the place.
Just more week 1 PTSD. I had the under 10.5 carries for Monty.
Oh, I saw that.
They're down by 20 points. Like, if Goff gets that sack and they call it a safety, Monty finishes with 9 carries. Yep. They rolled him down the 1, so they just gave Monty 2 bullshit carries to get out of the end zone. Boom, lose the bet. But it looked like, Gibbs, you've been kind of hinting at that. Like, maybe they'll just give the better running back more work. They kind of did, but the game was just so out of hand.
Yeah.
It's hard to really tell what was going on. But I think, they're going to involve Gibbs heavily in the passing game. He started the game. I think he was like in, for most of the goal line opportunities.
About 2-1. It was about 2-1 Gibbs except like if you kind of factor out the.
So
like you said,
I think we'll have a better idea this week. They're back at home. Ben Johnson revenge game. So we'll see what really is going to happen the rest of the season this week. I think. But that was rough. But still super high on Gibbs. Where do you have? He was the guy missing from your top 5, right?
Yeah, last week too. Let's see, Gibbs, RB8. He's kind of in a glut. Okay. Kind of in that glut of, with like Achan and who else is there? Somebody. Achan and Genty, then Gibbs, Kyron, Taylor. Like, it's a pretty good top 10 this week. I'm not going to lie. Like, I mean, to have those guys as the back 5 of the top 10, that's not bad at all. And right. Bucky's like 12 for me. Yeah, so it's good RB1 class.
Yeah. Bucky should bounce back. He very encouraged with the usage.
Yep.
Kind of like a Devon Achan situation where we finally get the increase in volume and the efficiency goes away, but I think it'll even out for Bucky.
Yeah, I mean, give some credit to the Falcons defense until that last drive, but looked a little better than usual.
Yeah.
Who are you high on in week 2? A running back.
Well, I'm high on Travis Etienne. He's my RB18. One of the biggest risers from week 1. Not only did he operate as a lead back in pretty much every situation. LaQuint Allen was the third down back. I think we kind of suspected that.
Yeah.
But that's fine for Etienne. Etienne was the 2-minute back, so that's kind of what you want. Like, you want Etienne to take the breathers on third down. You've talked about that. Like, You don't get
Yeah,
points
let's
for,
point out and take some linebackers head on or
yeah, you don't
whatever,
get
some
points
edge rushers.
unless you're in a points per pancake block league. You don't need ETN out there for that. And then, of course, he rushed for 143 yards. Granted, against the Panthers, this, Bengals defense will be a much tougher test, it looks like. But with, Tank Bigsby traded away, this is ETN's backfield for now, with Tootin being the clear backup. So, I have ETN sort of as a mid-range RB1 for now. And then our guy, Javonte Williams, one of the many week 1 rakes I stepped on was taking Javante's under. Little I know. Yeah, man, that was brutal because you kind of, again, you hinted at this, that, probably Jaden Blue or Miles Sanders would be inactive.
Yeah.
And, the fact that it was Blue, that stinks. So as soon as that happened, we were recording our touchdown show. I was freaking out. We kind of knew Javonte would be the starter, but that just raises floor that much higher, not having another back potentially eat into his workload or, get the hot hand. So Javonte operated as the lead back, looked a lot better. And, you have to remember he had that, it was like an ACL, MCL, and maybe even the PCL were torn. Sometimes it takes backs like 2 years to kind of return to form. So, he might still have it. He looked decent. And, he still only averaged 3.6 yards per carry, but you have to give him some
special. That's the Mendoza line, Javonte line.
You have to. I mean, he got a few of those carries with 1 yard of field in front of him that he did get. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. So whenever that happens, you kind of have to take the yards per carry with a grain of salt. His rushing yards over expected was still plus 0.1. But
just a monumental plus 0.1.
Yeah, just the whole point is the 3.6 probably isn't as bad as you think. And he faces the Giants this week at home. They're 6-point home favorites, so it sets up even better for him to see a bigger workload. And really curious to see what happens with Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue. Sanders had that big run, but he fumbled. So we'll kind of just have to see if, Blue and or Sanders, like which one will be inactive this week. But it seems to be the case they'll have two running backs active every week, right?
Javonte Williams gained 54 yards. He had 15 carries. Miles Sanders gained 53 yards. He had 4 carries. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Javonte Williams is going to be the inactive before anybody.
All right. Well, let's put a pin in this. Let's put a pin in this. Sneak peek. This will be my prop that we're going to be hashing out.
Well, I do have a question though. Who would you rather sell high on right now, ETN or Williams?
Probably Williams, if I'm being honest. Because like this Jaguars rushing offense should be much better with Liam Cohen. So we kind of knew there would be a winner from the 3, and right now it's ETN. Tootin could still leapfrog him at some point. But, to your point, Javante's going to have to fend off Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue, who I think will have a chance at some point. So I think it's going to be tougher for him to hold them off, and this rushing attack isn't one I'm as high on as a whole. So, I think I would sell high on Javonte. But I still like him this week. He's my RB16, so if you have him, you can play him this week. But I agree. I think he would be a sell high candidate maybe after this week.
Yeah, ETN you would have to go over Javante's last 8 games to get as many rushing yards as ETN had in week 1.
Right.
I'm high on Tony Pollard. He's my RB11. He's the RB18 in consensus. And this is just a snap usage thing. 90% of the snaps, 19 touches, 89 yards. The backups, if you can name the backups for the Titans, Godspeed, but it's Julius Chestnut and Khalil Mullings, and that's why Tony Pollard is playing 90% of the snaps. So it is not a great matchup, or just not a great offense, I should say. But at the end of the day, all you want is snaps at the running back position, or if that's the first thing you want, you're at home against the Rams, so could look a lot different. I mean, that Denver defense is in a tier of its own. So this is what we saw last year with Tajay Spears on IR. It's Tony Pollard, workhorse, and looks like that's happening yet again. So he's an RB1 for me. And then Zach Charbonnet, he is the RB1 in Seattle. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. 58% snap rate to Kenneth Walker's 40%. Yes, Kenneth Walker ended up, getting, I think, one couple touches more, but Kenneth Walker ran 10 times for 20 yards. He was not good with his touches. He was consistently doing the thing that we thought might get him in trouble, which is, kind of getting stopped in the backfield, just not really, getting anywhere on a lot of his runs. And Charbonnet, 12 for 47, got the touchdown. And this is what we've been hearing all offseason, that Charbonnet is the more intelligent runner, sees the holes better, and it was essentially a 60-40 split in week 1. So anyone who's looking at the touches and you see Walker with a couple more, the snaps are going to be more predictive of that generally. And Charbonnet was much more efficient anyway. So I have Charbonnet up just as a fringe RB2 at RB24, whereas he's more of a fringe RB3 in expert consensus at RB33. So I have him about 9 spots higher, and that's pretty much going to hold for me. I've been high on him all offseason and low on Walker. I don't think Walker's long for the for that kind of even 1B role. I think he's another guy I could see them trading or just reducing his work. So yeah.
I mean, Charbonnet hype is my love language, and just him outperforming Kenneth Walker in week 1 was amazing to see. I am trying to contain my excitement, and I think that maybe Kenneth Walker missing some time might have led to this, but I agree. I think Charbonnet's too good to kind of keep under wraps, and I kind of thought that he would be the better goal line back, and he took all 3 goal line snaps, and he even had that rushing score. So I think that's his role no matter what going forward. So yeah, hopefully this usage stays, and maybe Charbonnet starts getting even more work. But this offense is going to be very run heavy. They have the 2 fullbacks. So this is just very, very good news for Charbonnet long term.
Yeah, and remember, even though it's a new offense with Kubiak, it's the same coach in McDonald. So that there is some kind of continuity. He probably just like Charbonnet more. Ever since he came through, Charbonnet really started to kind of push Walker and start overtaking him. Who do you low on at running back, Koerner, week 2?
Well, first off, it'd be RJ Harvey. He's my RB36 at Indianapolis. And, the Sean Payton shenanigans we tried to warn people about were in full force in week 1. Evan Ingram ran less than 50% dropback rate before his injury, which is crazy. But RJ,
no, it's not.
Hart,
very, very uncrazy.
Well, no, just crazy to think. People are drafting him tight end 8. God Almighty! But wait, was it Adam Troutman took the first snap? I need to go back and see, but we essentially called that.
He was the no. Yeah, I mean they were him and Ingram were pretty similar in routes, and then Kroll
unbelievable
Ingram went down.
Well,
we kind of expected that though, but yeah,
we expected that. Harvey. But this applied to running back too, because I was saying, they'll probably lean on J.K. Dobbins a bit more earlier in the season. They were basically double-digit favorites at home against the Titans. Wasn't shocked. J.K. Dobbins led for, most of the situations. But Sean Payton took it even a step further than even I thought. He had Tyler Bidet, handle most of the third down work and the 2-minute snaps. That's what we thought.
That in the offseason. That was expected.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so much you can't take anything away from the preseason with him, but this was devastating news for Harvey, at least short term. But Harvey still managed to bail out his fantasy managers. He had that 50-yard run, still led the team with 7 yards rushing. But that sort of underlying usage, he's, borderline RB3 flex material. So I don't know if you could trust him now. But, anything can change. That's the thing with Sean Payton. Anything can change any given week. He is a rookie. I think Alvin Kamara had a similar, slow start his rookie season and then just went off. So he still has that kind of upside. But, I'd be careful if you have him. Maybe bench him this week for somebody with a little more stability. And then if he has a rough week this week, if you don't have him, I would be floating trade offers to the person that does have him because maybe they weren't expecting this to happen. So RJ Harvey, low on him this week, still long term. I think he could be RB2 flex type of back, but very concerning, at least short term, to see him not even getting these like pass catching back snaps. He's just going to have to just, have a 50-yard run every week to offer any value in this role. So he's a guy I'm low on heading into week 2. And another guy that I've been kind of, sounding alarms on the past few weeks is Caleb Johnson. He opens up as my RB64 against the Seahawks, and this will be the last time I talk about him, I promise, unless something changes. But, I was shocked he was still being drafted inside the top 30 once we saw, Kenny Gainwell emerge usage-wise in the preseason. I thought he was going to be a thorn on everyone's side, but what happened in week 1 was even crazier than I thought because, Jalen Warren was the clear lead back. And then Kenny Gainwell was actually the clear lead to number 2 back. And Caleb was just, a distant third. So I don't think you trust Caleb now or unless and until one of these 2 backs go down. So Caleb Johnson, he's off my radar. I think you got to still stash him for now because you did spend, pretty significant draft capital to get him. But if this continues, he could be borderline droppable. He might need both running backs ahead of him to miss time. So again, this will be the last time I talk about him, but the fact that I have him RB64 already is wild to me. But after the week 1 usage, I think it's warranted.
Yeah, for now, I think you got to pick up Gainwell, but yeah, I would still stash Caleb. Harvey, I would trade for him everywhere. Peyton said he regretted not running more. They passed on 73% of their plays, and so I think Harvey is going to tick up pretty quickly. So you might not even get till next week. So I would trade for him now. I would bench him this week, but I would also trade for him. If I could.
Where do you have him ranked?
38. So yeah, still benchable, but
yeah.
Next, that could be the last time he's that well. For me, it's Kenneth Walker. I already talked about this with the Charbonnet being high on him. I have Walker RB32. Consensus has him 23. So essentially, have him and Charbonnet flipped, and he got out snapped 58% to 40%. He ran for 20 yards on 10 carries. You don't know, how consistent the pass game usage is going to be because Cooper Kupp only had 2 catches. Torrey Horton was a cardio king, so. That and the tight ends really weren't even that involved in the pass game either. So that could be hit or miss. So Walker is the guy that I'd want to offload, before it could get worse than this, I think. So don't want him on my roster, but we'll get to wide receivers, but what you got for the running back prop?
We're going with Javonte Williams, yards per carry. Okay. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Down to the decimal, 3.78. Are you going over or under 3.78?
Against the Giants? Under. I like that front. I like that D line. I know they gave up a couple big plays to Krosky Merritt, but that's our guy. But Javonte, he's Mr. 3.6 anyway. So I think this Giant run be a little better than advertised. So gotta go under.
Yeah, I will say be careful looking at week 1 data. I think Giants are 32nd DVOA against the run, but they face the Commanders. You have to show them some mercy. So I agree. They're probably a better defense than people think. But 3.78, I would not be shocked if we end up very close to that this week. We'll see though.
Yeah, it's Javonte Williams, Mr. 3.6. All right, I'll get to wide receivers in a moment, but just want to remind you that to get the most out of the award-winning Action app, you want to be an Action Pro subscriber. Only Pro subscribers get real-time pick alerts from experts like Sean Koerner, Stuckey, Nick Giffen, myself, the entire Action Network squad. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Koerner and our predictive analytics team. And we've got a special offer to celebrate the return of the NFL this season. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20. That's POD20. So don't miss the best bets at the best prices Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code POD20 to get 20 off a year of Action Pro. All right, wide receiver top 5. Who you got, Koerner? Week 2.
Yeah, I got Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, I got Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Nacua, Neighbors. So pretty same nice. Top 5. Slightly different order, but who are you high
on? Yeah, so I already talked about Hollywood Brown on the waivers pod. A bunch of guys moved up my ranks, but I'm going to talk about 2 guys that are pretty much owned in every single league, just because I feel like it's important to talk about them right now. But JSN is my wide receiver 8. I was high on him heading into the season. Thought his usage would be pretty high despite it being a run-heavy offense. But week 1 was absolutely insane. He saw a 57% target rate. I don't think he's going to be able to sustain that, obviously, all season. But, Cooper Kupp looked pretty rough. Our guy, Torrey Horton, was almost the cardio king. I just think this passing offense is going to go right through JSN. I think he's ready for his true breakout. I think it's wheels up for JSN the rest of the way. He's wide receiver 8 this week. They're at Pittsburgh, but there's going to be some weeks I think he's going to be inside my top 5 if this keeps up. So super high on JSN. And the other guy I'm high on is a guy he was difficult to project heading into the season for me, but it's Ted McMillan. They're at Arizona this week. He opens up as my wide receiver 20, but I was very impressed with what I saw. His 5 catches, 68-yard receiving line doesn't really do it justice. Bryce Young didn't look great throwing him the ball. He let him down a couple times, but at least Bryce Young was willing to, throw it up for Tet. And I think that's going to pan out in the long run. He had a near one-handed touchdown grab on 4th and 5, I think, on the 33. So close to having a massive line there. There was almost another crazy catch he made. I think the play got blown dead, but very impressed with him. And, I think going forward, he could be like a high-end wide receiver too. So he's a guy that I did almost a full pivot on after week 1 and getting to see him actually play with Bryce Young. So Tet is a guy that, I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 this week and going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just thin in Carolina. Somebody's got to catch the ball. For me, it is Marquise Brown. You mentioned him. If nice. Worthy doesn't play, he'd be a wide receiver 1 for me. He'd be in my wide receiver 7. Yeah. He ran a route pretty much every drop back, caught 10 balls, could have caught more, as you mentioned. So, and I think he's getting that Worthy role, or kind of some combination of Worthy and Rice, and he stands out. Especially we don't know. Kelsey seems to be a little bit of a lower volume target. That makes sense with his age, and then Juju's, we know what he is at this point. He's not going to be a high volume guy most weeks, and Royals is still a rookie. And Thornton's mostly a low percentage deep threat route runner. So high upside for Brown if Worthy's out, especially against a Philly team that could score some points. And then Zay Flowers, he's a top 10 receiver for me too. He's a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 20 in ECR. This guy's going to get rushing attempts. He's the Ravens' top receiver, and already looks like we're getting these Mark Andrews shenanigans again, where he's not playing a full complement of snaps even with likely out. So that just increases the target floor for Flowers, because Andrews' target per route rate would kind of compete with Flowers, but the fewer routes he's running, the more Flowers is just far and away the top target on a lot of Lamar Jackson's dropbacks. So love him this week against Cleveland, even in somewhat of a tough matchup. And those are the 2 big ones for me, Marquise and Zach. All right, who are you low
on? I'm low on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's my wide receiver 17, which is crazy. But this entire Lions offense looked bad against the Packers. I was already concerned about how it looked following Ben Johnson leaving, but this is really bad. And, it probably made matters worse. It was, outdoor game on the road. So Jared Goff usually kind of flops in these situations. But, the Sun God only saw a 12% target rate I can't imagine that sustainable, obviously. But it's going to be tough to kind of have a high floor for him, just given how much it looks like Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be involved in the passing game. Obviously, Jamison Williams is. Sam Laporta is healthy again. And I think Isaac Tisla, we only saw him play a couple snaps. He made that amazing touchdown catch. He was sick heading into the game. It looked like he might be a scratch. He might have a bigger role than people realize. So just a lot of mouths to feed in an offense that looks like it's going to regress quite a bit this year. I'm a bit lower on Amon-Ra. Obviously, if you have him, you have to play him. But just wasn't an encouraging start for him or the entire Lions offense. And then the next guy is Matthew Golden. I know we were both high on him heading into this season, but he's my wide receiver 56 to open the week against the Commanders Thursday night. Just, really bad debut, 2 catches, 16 yards, 57% routes run rate, and only a 15% target rate. Not ideal, but I think he's going to get better as the season goes. So he still might be a play later on. So you probably still have to stash him if you have him, but you certainly can't trust him in your lineups. But, everybody's hurt in this wide receiver room. And, Jaden Reed's dealing with a foot injury where any given time he could be out multiple weeks. So this wide receiver room's kind of a mess. Can't really trust anybody right now, especially Golden. So he's a guy that, unfortunately, you definitely have to bench and stash in the meantime and things until things get better. But definitely was an encouraging start to his rookie season.
Yeah, well, I think he would have actually played closer to 80, 90%. He just got he's got an ankle injury too, so we got to monitor him. But I would buy low on him. I think he'll end up being exactly what we thought he'll be. And with everyone kind of hurt, it was just like a weird rotation. I think, what was it? Yeah, Reed. Everyone played like under 75% of the dropbacks for the Packers. Like Dobbs was 74, and then Golden was like 55, and Reed was around 50. Wicks was under. So yeah, I think long term Golden he'll probably be playing a lot more than that. But got to monitor him because he's got an ankle issue, which is not good given the type of routes that we wanted him to run. For me, it is George Pickens. I was low on him last week. I'm low on him again. Still obviously behind CeeDee Lamb in the pecking order. Some weeks maybe behind Ferguson as well. A lot of talent. Love the talent for this guy, but this is a game where, again, Giants defense, good pass rush, maybe hard for Dak to have a time to go deep down the field. To Pickens, him and CeeDee Lamb's chemistry is not where it needs to be yet. So Pickens is probably even worse, and I just don't think he's a top 30 wide receiver yet. 28 in ECR, he's my wide receiver 40, and that's with him projected to run 95% of the routes. So again, this is divisional matchup. Maybe the Cowboys win on the run. We just don't know enough about the Schottenheimer offense. We don't have a big enough sample for Pickens, so I think there are better wide receivers that you can start as your wide receiver 3 this week than George Pickens. So yeah, I have him 12 spots lower. All right, wide receiver prop. Let's go with. Oh, I gotta go with AJ Brown. Okay, let's see. AJ Brown versus Keon Coleman receiving yards. AJ Brown is a 19.5 yard favorite. Who you got?
I was gonna ask if you were gonna have a Keon Coleman prop. Let's see. I'm gonna take Coleman.
Yeah, you
give
got
me the
to.
yards. Just give it. Both are kind of a tricky projection. I don't think Coleman's gonna repeat. His touchdown wasn't even intended for him.
Yep, that was a tip ball, but still so a great showing for him.
Yeah. I think, especially like when you're gonna have a shootout against the Ravens, like he's gonna be a lot better. But yeah, AJ Brown, like the underlying metrics aren't great, and there's some speculation that hamstring injury could still be an issue. But you have to figure they're gonna have the squeaky wheel game for him, but not if he's like actually hurt. So it's who knows. And it's gonna be a problem for both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith if Jahan Dotson keeps balling out, that's 2 straight games now going back to the Super Bowl where Dotson
Goddard.
has Well, yeah,
Goddard too.
obviously Goddard.
I mean,
Obviously
yeah, but I
Goddard.
mean, he
Well,
he usually doesn't like blow out like that
oh,
when both of those
yeah,
guys are in. But he was just
yeah.
like him, high volume plus Dotson getting yardage. Yeah,
Yeah, I think Dotson's the wild card here, and I'm mostly joking. But Dotson was, a first round pick, 3 years ago? So it would be the craziest thing in the world for Dotson to somehow become like average. That's just something I noticed. That's kind of what I pegged with Jonnu Smith early last year. Like, if this keeps up, it's going to hurt, Tyreek and Waddle. So something to monitor. But I would imagine they're going to force feed AJ this week, but he might actually be hurt. So he's a tricky projection. So that's why I'll take the yards here. But that's a great line.
yeah. I actually have it a lot. Like if if they don't force feed AJ, because like that's hard to kind of like project, so I'll probably bump him up a little, but like just raw projection, I have him and Coleman fairly equal yardage, like because I don't have Jalen Hurts throwing for a ton, this week. We saw him be very efficient, but yeah, a lot went to Dotson, so you got to kind of factor that in. Goddard, we don't know, and there's still Saquon Barkley there. It's not no slouch either.
Yeah,
at running back. So, and if Brown goes off, then I mean, what Devontae Smith? What's up with him? Does he also because he didn't really do anything either?
There's a whole other layer of the Chiefs' defense look like shit against the Chargers. What do you think is going on there? Is that Spags is going to fix that in week 2, or is that like a long-term concern? But they look like a good matchup.
Yeah, that was
short term.
Yeah. I mean, but that's like with Herbert going, super pass heavy. I mean, I just think Herbert's really good, and like that. I don't know if the Eagles' passing game is at that level. Just with like Hurts is he would get more of those yards just scrambling, I think, than the 300 that Herbert got all through the air. So a little bit different, but yeah, I think it's one of those things where the Chargers caught him a little bit off guard, going super pass heavy, a lot of talent at that spot. So I mean, the Spags just did a game plan against Hurts and didn't go too well. So you think he'd be a little bit more prepared, but who knows? Something to monitor. But yeah, as of now, I don't have I just have Hurts around like 210, nothing crazy. Okay, let's go tight end, top 5, week 2. Koerner, who you got?
All right, I got Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and then rest in peace George Kittle. I have. I have Travis Kelce, tight end 3. What the hell's going on there? Sam Laporta, and then Tyler Warren, baby, tight end 5.
Already. Yeah.
Already.
So again, just because it's early in the week, we don't know. I mean, Bowers says he's fine, but I still haven't projected a little bit lower routes run than like at 100%. So I have McBride number 1 and Laporta number 2. Bowers 3. He would at least probably overtake Laporta. But may be a little conservative and still have him behind McBride this week. But yeah, those are the top 3. And then Kelce number 4 and Tyler Warren number 5 for me as well.
Nice.
Who are you high on?
Tyler Warren, tight end 5. This is, going to be a tough matchup against the Broncos, but I don't care. He's in my top 5 for now. But, we were both high on both rookie tight ends. Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland, they had 2 very different week 1s, both in the box score and usage-wise. Warren, obviously, the box score stands out, 7 catches, 76 yards. But when you dig in, like, I'm even more impressed with Warren. He had a solid 73% routes run rate. I think that could probably go up going forward. But he saw a 38% target rate. Which is massive. I could see that. He's not going to maintain that, but still, he's going to be a target monster in this offense. Josh Downs is notably kind of quiet. They lowered his usage in both, routes run and target rate. Maybe the blowout. I think the blowout probably fueled a lot of that. If you're up a ton, you don't need Josh Downs out there. A ton and 11. So maybe that's why. But either way, that was encouraging for Warren. But I just think the fit with Daniel Jones now with Tyler Warren, he's just going to get a ton of catchable targets underneath. So I think just having Daniel Jones helps him a ton. I kind of hinted at that. But it was just giving me Brock Bowers 2024 vibes, seeing the initial usage for Warren, where, if like Michael Pittman and or Josh Downs go down, he would have like the Brock Bowers upside. That's Brock Bowers, we have to remember, kind of had a perfect storm last year with guys going down, Devontae getting traded. If one or two guys go down, Warren's going to go off. But either way, just this current state of the offense, he's still in my top 5 in a brutal matchup against the Broncos. So just either way, just very impressed with his, just film, his box score, but also his underlying usage. Everything I look into, I'm just more and more impressed with him.
Yeah, you look it out there. For me, I'll go with the rookie as well. Fannin Jr. is up to my tight end 13. He's tight end 20 in ECR. I think this guy is essentially their number 3 receiver behind Judy or behind Tillman, behind Judy, Tillman, and then him. Like, I think Njoku is more of a blocking tight end. He's getting older, and Fannin already looks like the better receiver. And the fact that Njoku couldn't get it going in a game where Flacco, played very, very well, maybe that's not a good sign that, everyone was kind of banking on a repeat of the 2023 and then the 2024 stretch with Njoku and Winston. But, defenses are kind of expecting that too. So I think Fannin is the beneficiary and just a more younger and more spry kind of guy. So I think he'll continue to ascend in this offense, and there's big trailing game script. So if you could also see maybe Njoku just come out late and Fannin be the number 1 tight end. Baltimore's blowing him out. That's Baltimore. Who knows? Because it's Baltimore, so they might just give up the lead. But like Fannin this week, borderline tight end 1 already. Who you low on, Sean?
Low on the other rookie we were high on, Colson Loveland, all the way down to tight end 30 for me at Detroit this week. There's no denying it. His stock took a big hit in week 1. Cole Kmet, for some reason, still operated as the lead tight end. Loveland only had a 48% routes run rate, just a 10% target rate. I think, both his targets were underneath, so I wasn't impressed with just where the targets were. So that was, the worst case scenario for him. Wide range of outcomes for him based on this landing spot, but that was certainly worst case scenario because I don't think you could drop him. I think going forward, he's just going to see more and more work. He's going to get better and better. He could still end up being a tight end 1, even with Cole Kmet fully healthy, but you can't play him. So you got to add another tight end. This is a rare case. I think I would allow owning 2 tight ends at the same time, maybe add Fannin Jr. If he's available. So just a terrible, terrible situation to be in. But, very low on Loveland heading into week 2. But I think, again, long term, I think he could still push tight end 1 value. It might take a while. And we can't play him until we see anything change, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll change pretty quickly just because it wasn't like Kmet gave you a whole lot and that offense kind of sputtered out like late in the game. So I think him and Luther Burden might actually have a harder path because Zacchaeus is playing very well.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Maybe DJ Moore have to go full-time running back or something. I don't know. But
Caleb's doing his part to get DJ Moore killed. I mean, DJ Moore took like 3 or 4 massive hits that game.
Yeah.
He's going to get him killed. So, but if DJ Moore misses time, then Luther Burden's stock goes through the roof for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Loveland's goes up too, though, just because probably could just go, more. You just use him as like the glorified slot receiver. But agree. My tight end 30 as well. Would stash him though if he's dropped. But I'm low on Evan Ingram again. He's outside my top 30 at tight end. This guy. So let's go back to last year. He played in week 1, got injured, missed 4 games. Came back, lasted another 8 games, and then got injured, missed the last 4 games. So he had 2 different injuries where he missed 4 games. And now he got injured halfway into week 1. And when he's been healthy, 7 yards per catch on his 3 catches this year, 7.8 last year, 8.4 in 2023. So that 58-yard preseason catch might go down. Like that might be the longest catch of his career, going forward. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this guy. I don't know what Sean Payton's going to do. Like he's an enigma. He loves to sub out these heavy personnel guys. So yeah, as I feared, I think Ingram is he's a guy because at least, like a guy like Loveland, his stock's going up. Ingram, his stock might actually be going down. Like if he's already hurt, because like you don't want to be hurt in week 1 at age, what is he, 30? Yeah, he just turned 31. Yeah, so I'm out on Ingram. I don't think you'd get any takers on the trade market, obviously, but if you can offload him, do it because don't want any parts. All right, prop, what you got?
All right, so this is a head-to-head. You pick which tight end will score more fantasy points this week. Half PPR, Fantasy Pros scoring system. Harold Fannin Jr. versus the guy I was high on last week, Mr. 98% routes run rate, Juwan Johnson.
Ooh. I have Fannin a little bit higher, even though I have Johnson projected for like 90% routes again. Who else is that tight end for them?
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta go Fannin. I like that it's a big projected trailing game script, which means he could not only get his normal snaps because they got in a close game it was 65% routes with 7 catches, but now if they're trailing, he might actually get some of the Njoku snaps too. So late in the game as the tight end 1. So yeah, I like everything about how this is setting up for Fannin. Whereas Johnson's kind of going the other way, right? It's like San Francisco's getting weakened in terms of that game script. So yeah, give me Fannin. All right, that's going to do it for our NFL Week 2 player projections podcast here on the Fantasy Flex. Make sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast so you do not miss an episode all season long. We have our waivers episode already out. We'll be back later in the week with our DFS episode. And, of course, you can catch our touchdown show over on the Action Network podcast as well this Friday with Koerner and Gilles Gallant. And don't forget, relaunch of the Favorites pod, Stuck, Kravitz, Middleton, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Check that out. Be sure to follow at Playbook on X if you want an AI bot to be able to create bet slips for you. If you just screenshot it, or you can even just type a bet to it, and it'll create a loaded bet slip for you for this book of your choosing. So be sure to check that out as well. Sean is on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Go download it. Until next time, let's get this money.